Hi everybody! So today I'm going to show you how to make strawberry shortcake. She was originally created by @KarinaLoomBands from Instagram, so you can go check out her account. She has graciously shared with me what she has done. Now this is a mashup of quite a few of my designs with a twist of her own. So I am going to be using these supplies: lime green, white, red, skin tone bands, which now you can get at Rainbow Loom, an individual package of 600 with just skin tone. Pink, I'm going to use 45 small little E-beads threaded onto 45 pink bands. Now if you don't have the beads, you can use a wrapped band like Karina did instead, which I'll show you when we get there. For her eyes, I'm using a 12mm blue eye. I know that she has green eyes, but I only have the blue. If you have pony beads, you can use I'd go with a 7 or even bigger with a 9. I'm also going to be using the loom, some stuffing, and a hook, and this is what we're going to be creating in today's video. So I'm going to get started, and I do hope you enjoy. What we're going to do now is prep our beads on. We're going to thread them onto our rubber bands. If you're not using the beads, you can take a red band and wrap it around your hook 4 times. But to show you where they're going to go on the hat and on the dress. So it's up to you what you would like to use. You can even minus it all together if you'd like. But you're going to need a total of 45. I'm pretty sure that count is correct. But I have 10, 20, 30, 40, and 5. So if you don't have the beads, you can just take a rubber band and you can go around 3 times or you can go around 4 times. Both will be fine. And you're going to slide it onto a rubber band, and you want to have that all ready. You could even do this part as you're crocheting. It's completely up to you. But if you do have the beads, and what you're going to do is with a piece of string, this is the string that you would make beaded bracelets. What you're going to do is put one end through the rubber band and grab the other end. So you have 2 ends together and slide this through your bead. Bring it to the center of the band. And you want to pause the video and get all that ready and put these to the side until we're ready to use. Now we're going to make her hair. So they are going to be strands. There's 15 strands in total, and they are chains of 15. So right here I have 15 bands, 5, 10, and 15. We're just going to make a simple chain, and you need something to store them on. This is the Rainbow Loom double-ended hook, which will be coming out soon, but I think it was a great way. I could even make the chains using this hook, but I kind of have this stored. You're going to need maybe a couple extra looms, a pencil, a skewer stick, something that you could even use the end of your loom, but something to store them on until we're ready to use. So I have 14 here, so I'm going to make a chain, and then I'll just count just to show. I'm going to take a cap band and wrap it around my hook. I'm going to take a rubber band and wrap it around my hook 4 times. So 1, 2, 3, and 4. You could do 3, but 4 tends to make the chain stay down. 3, you'll start to curl up. So taking each one of the bands, you want to make a chain. I did make all of them with my hook, so it's up to you how you'd like to make them. You could even go just a bit shorter using a couple less bands. You can try 12. I haven't tried a chain of 12, so it would be the length of your loom. So you could make these chains on your loom. I'll leave that up to you. But just so you can see the length of her hair, using 15 bands. So if you'd like, you can go a bit shorter. Give her a little bit of haircut. Now the chain is pretty simple, so I am going a little bit fast for this part. So I used these grips just to hold them in place so that I don't lose them, because we are going to keep these for a bit until we're ready to use. So I'm just going to, I think that was a great little storage. So I have 15 strands, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, and 15. So you're going to pause the video and get that ready. Now we're going to make the arm, and I'm going to do one with you, and then you're going to pause the video to make yourself another. So what I'm going to start off with is a magic ring of 7 stitches. I'm going to take, and I'm using the skin color. At any point in time, you could change to the white color. You could fast forward to see how I did, or how I'm going to do round 7. I'm just using Jess Davies' technique that we did with the Santa Minion hat. So a little frill, or you can just crochet up and change the color to white at any point in time if you prefer. So doing 7 single crochets in the magic ring, I'm taking my first band and wrapping it around the bottom peg 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now I'm just going to pull 7 bands through, one at a time. End on my hook and top loop over. Bringing it to the side, back in for my second band, bring through, end on my hook, and now for the rest of the bands you're just bringing your top 2 loops over, bringing it to the side. Back in, band on your hook, end through, other end on your hook, top loops over, top 2. And you want to just continue like that. Now you can remove off the loom, move your bands around so that they're nice and even, and attach your stitch marker to the loop that's around your hook. For rounds 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I'm using the skin color, and I'm just going to do 7 single crochets. So 1 band in each chain. 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, and 1. So at the end of each round, you're going to have 7 stitches. So each one of my piles, I have 7 bands. I'm going to do round 2 with you, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. So I'm going to go in my first chain, just with a single crochet. 1 band in each until you get to your stitch marker. You can remove your stitch marker, or if you have your bands counted, you really don't need to use the stitch marker. But just in case, you want to make sure when you start round 3, you're going in your first chain, not where it's getting pulled. So you can pause the video now and come back to me when you're done. Now for round 7, I'm changing to the white color. I'm going to do 7 single crochets, grabbing the outside loops only. Now when I do a single crochet, I'm then after going to add a wrapped band. So it will give the little bit of a frill right here. This is Jess Davies' technique, and I like it the way it turned out like that. So I'm going to take this part slowly, using 7 bands of white, and I have a pile here of 7 bands. One of these is going to go on after we do a single crochet. Now we are changing color, so I'm going to start off with a slip stitch. What I'm going to do is just grab the outside loops only on each chain around. So here's your chain. This is your chain if you open it up. The furthest one is your outside loop. So I'm going to grab the outside loop, starting with a slip stitch, slide, and I'm going to hold on to this band. You could put it down if you wish. But I found that even if you hold it, it's fine, and you're going to take a single band and wrap it around your hook 3 times. You could take 4 of these bands, because that's about as many as you can wrap around your hook, and just add 4 bands wrapped 3 times so you don't have to keep removing your hook. It's completely up to you. So now putting your white band back on your hook, you're going to slide this cap band on. And you're going to do that to each chain around. Outside loop only, single crochet, I'm going to hold it, and I'm going to take a single band and wrap it around 3 times. And slide. And I'm going to do this to each chain until I get to the stitch marker. Be very careful that you don't skip a stitch. You want to make sure that you do 7. And at the last one. So now you have 7 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. Now for rounds 8 and rounds 9, we're going to do 7 single crochets. Our last band, we're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. After that, we'll be adding 2 sewing bands. So I'm going to do round 8 here. I'm going to do both of the rounds with you. For round 8, all you're going to do is go in each chain and do a single crochet, but you want to move the cap bands out of the way. So you should be in between the 2 little wrapped bands. So there's my little wrapped band, and you can see my chain underneath. And single crochet. You're going to go to the next, move your cap bands out of the way so you can see your chain, and single crochet. Again. Moving it out of the way. And the last one. Now your chains are quite visible. You can attach your stitch marker to the band that's around your hook. I'm not going to do that because it's really small and I have 7 bands here. So you're just going to go in your chains now and single crochet all the way around 7 stitches and till you get to the end, and then you'll do a slip knot to tie it closed. Last band, bring it through all the loops. Don't pull too hard, but you want that knot there. But this is your sewing band, so you don't want to stretch that band too much. Now I'm going to add the 2 sewing bands. So I'm going to bring my slip knot to the side, and I'm going to go through the center chains on either side. So I'm going to skip the little loops where your slip knot is, and I'm going to go to the center. And slip knot. Don't pull too hard, but you want it secure. Now I've run out of space here. If I go through the last, you probably might end up with a big gap on the side here. So I'm just going to grab at the end one little chain here. So I have 2 little loops on my hook, and I'm going to do a slip knot there. So I'm at the side, and it's even with the other slip knot. You're going to prefer a side better than the other. So one side's going to probably be flat, and this side is more of a bump. That will be for the outside of the arm. Now we're going to create the legs, and I'm going to show you to do one, and then you're going to pause the video to make another. So I'm going to start off with a magic ring of 6 stitches. I'm using the red color, and I'm going to take my first band and wrap it around the bottom peg 3 times. 1, 2, and 3. Now pulling 6 bands through, one at a time. Reach in through your cap band, grab your first one, bring it through, end on your hook and the top loop over. Bring it to the side, go back in for your second band, bring it through, end on your hook, and now you're bringing the top 2 loops over. Bring it to the side. You want to continue bringing your third band through, end on your hook, and now the top 2 loops over. Bring it to the side and continue it like that. I'm going to remove it off the loom and attach my stitch marker to the band that's around my hook. I'm just going to move my bands around first and attach. So you should have 6 stitches. For round 2, you're going to increase on each chain around. So you're adding 2 bands to each stitch. 2, 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2. So at the end of round 2, you're going to have 12 stitches. You're just going to go in your first chain. You're doing 2 single crochets in that same chain. So that would be an increase. Go back in that same chain to add your second band. I now move on to chain 2 and repeat 2 single crochets in that one chain. The next chain, same thing, and repeat until you get to your stitch marker. You should have 12 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 3, we're going to increase to 15 stitches. What we're going to do is 3 single crochets followed by an increase. So 1, 1, 1, 2. You're going to repeat this 3 times till you get to your stitch marker. So you'll have 15 stitches when you're done. So I'm going to go in my first 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3, with a single band in each. Now your 4th chain, you're doing your increase, so 2 bands at a time, one time. Back in. And repeat 1, 1, 1, 2. Follow the pattern until you get to your stitch marker. I have 4 chains left, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Continue with the pattern. Again, you should have 15 stitches, and remove your stitch marker. For round 4, we're going to do 15 single crochets and grabbing the inside loops only. On each chain, you're grabbing that single loop that's facing the center all the way around, and you'll have 15 stitches when you're done. You can see I have 15 bands here, 5, 10, and 15. Add 1 to every inside loop until you get to your stitch marker. So right now, you have 15 stitches, and remove your stitch marker. Add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 5, I'm still using the red color, and the next round I'll be switching to white. For this round, we are going to decrease to 12 stitches. And what I'm going to do is use Just Davey's invisible decrease method, so I'll be adding an extra band. So we'll get to that if you're not familiar with that in a second. The last band that we do, we're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. Because what's going to happen is if we keep on going with the leg, our seam is going to be in the front. So I figured if I close it off now, we will kind of remain in the back of the leg. So I did my slip knot, it's somewhere about right here. I didn't want to continue going towards the front. So we are going to do a slip knot with the last band. So right now I'm going to do 3 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. 3 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease, and we're going to do this 3 times. So we'll have 12 stitches when we're done. I'm going to go in the first 3 chains, 1, 2, and 3, with 1 band in each. Now for the invisible decrease, you're going to do a slip stitch and leave it on your hook for the next 2 chains. Slip stitch, next chain, slip stitch, and when you have 3 loops, then you want to slide. We're going to repeat 3 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. Three loops and slide. Let's do this one more time, and I'm gonna try to remember slip knot with the last band. So 3 single crochets. Now the invisible decrease. So I'm going to do a slip stitch with 1 and leave it on my hook. The last band, I'm going to bring it through all of the loops that are on my hook to tie it off. Now I'm going to remove the stitch marker and we'll use this again at the end of the next round. For round 6, I'm changing to white. What I'm going to do is grab the inside loops only, and I'm going to decrease this round to 9 stitches. I am going to be grabbing the inside loops only, and I'm starting at the stitch right here at the back that's before the slip knot, just grabbing the inside loops only. I'm going to do this to each chain around, and even when I'm doing the decrease. Now I'm going to do 2 single crochets, followed by an invisible decrease. 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease, and then one more time. So a total of 3 times. When you're doing your invisible decrease, you're still only grabbing the inside loops only. So I'm going to do 2 single crochets. You don't want to start from the back. You're going to start from the tip of the foot towards the back, and you want to do that single crochet. Try not to grab onto that slip knot. Go to the next stitch, which is on the other side of your slip knot, and single crochet. Now you're going to do your invisible decrease, slip stitch, grabbing the inside loop only, leave it on your hook. The next one, inside loop only, the first one, slip stitch, 3 loops inside. Continue, 2 single crochets followed by an invisible decrease. You're going to repeat. So you have the 2 chains left. You're going to go in that same chain where you started. And decrease. Now attach your stitch marker to the band that's around your hook, and you want to add a little bit of stuffing to this shoop area. You can secure your stitch marker, or if you're using a C-clip, attach it to the chain and then add a little bit of stuffing. You just want the form of the foot. You don't want to overstuff so that the bottom base looks like this. It has the bottom part of the shoe, so you want it to remain flat. So you don't want to add too much stuffing. While my hook is off, I'm just going to hide this slip knot. So I'm just going to go through and come out beside the slip knot and just hide it now. And I'm going to put this back on my hook, and this is what you should have. For round 7, I'm using white, and I'm going to do 7 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, followed by an invisible decrease. So I'll be adding an extra band. I am going to decrease this round to 8 stitches. So we're just going to crochet. Don't go in your little slip knot. Go in your first chain. Right now you should have 9 stitches. So we're just going to do 7 single crochets. And our last 2 chains, basically, slip knot in each, or slip stitch in each. I'm going to push that stuffing in. So I have 2 chains left. We're going to decrease. Each kind of decrease gives it a different effect. So I like this one for the shape. It gave it more of a rounder look. So that's why I'm doing, I tend to do different kinds of decreases. It alters the pattern. So when you get 3 loops, slide. You should have 8 stitches right now. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. Now I have rounds 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, and 15 here. All we're going to do is 8 single crochets, 1 band in each chain. 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. I'm going to do the first 3 rounds with you, and then you're going to pause the video. I want to show you that when you change a color, you want to do a slip stitch when you start, and then a slip stitch, and then a slip stitch when you're changing the colors. The last band, what we're going to do is do a slip knot to tie it closed. What I'm going to then do is take some stuffing and a pencil and then stuff the legs. So at any point in time, you could add stuffing as you're going. I prefer to do it like this. So I'm going to leave that part up to you. You could add a little bit of stuffing and more, and then at the end. What I find is if you keep on adding stuffing as you're going, the leg just gets wider and you end up, or I end up, adding too much stuffing. So again, completely up to you. I will come back for the last band to do a slip knot with you to tie it closed. So I am going to start off. I'm going to go on my first chain, not where it's getting pulled. And we're just doing 8 single crochets. So each pile I have 8 bands, so at the end of each round you should have 8 stitches. I'm going to change color. So I'm going to bring it through all the loops and do a slip stitch. Now you're going to continue going around. My bands are organized, so I'm not going to be using the stitch marker after this. So it's up to you. You can attach the stitch marker. I'm not going to be using it. I'm going to continue. When you do change the color, you're going to notice your slip knot. Please don't go in there. You want to go in your first chain. And 8 single crochets again. So now I'm on round 10, and I'm going to start off with a slip stitch. So going in your first chain, not where it's getting pulled, and bring your band through all the loops and slide. And continue going around. So when you're starting with round 11, go in your first chain, not your slip knot. And then you can single crochet. You want to continue going around, so please pause the video and come back to me when you're done. Now I'm at the last band, and then I'm going to be adding some stuffing, and then I'm going to be adding the little strap for the shoe. So I've added stuffing to 1, so you can see that the stuffing is not coming out through the little holes, but it is, I did keep the form in the shape of the actual leg. So what we're going to do is do the last band, slip knot, and now you're going to take some stuffing, and I'm just going to roll, or try to roll, and I want to have it the same length of the leg. I could always add more stuffing after, I'm just trying to keep the length and the thickness of the leg. So what I'm going to do is open it up, and I'm just going to slowly push it in right to the ankle part, making sure that the foot is still flat, and I'm just going to add a little bit more to the top part and then compare it to the other leg. So they're about the same thickness. And now we're going to add on the little shoe strap. I'm going to show you to do one, and it's the exact same thing for the other leg. So for each leg, you need 3 bands. What you're going to do is, one is going to be on either side. You can fold the leg in half and find the center band that's going sideways. Now you're going to count 2 stitches. You're going to count 2 stitches to the right, 1 and 2. You want to go from the top of the leg down to the bottom and do a slip stitch. So again, 2 stitches to the right. There's my center band, 1 and 2. Now in the center, where your band is going sideways, you want to go up. You're going to see this white stitch right here. I'm going to go up, and I'm just going to bring a band through. I'm not going to tie it, just to bring the band through so you can find your placement a little bit easier. It took me forever to figure this one out. So what we're going to do again, find your center, and now you're going to count 3 stitches to the left. 1, 2, and 3. From the top of the leg down to the bottom, just bring your band through. Now you're going to do the slip stitches by grabbing the bands. So you're going to go through the one here in the edge here. You're going to grab your band, just the end, hold on to the other side and bring it through. Grab your end and slide. Same thing with the last one. Bring it through and grab the end, and this one you're going to slide and just pull a little bit tighter to do a slip knot. And then you can flatten out the leg again, the foot, and you can hide this band. Don't grab the stuffing. So you could do that with the other side. Now this is round 1 of the body, and we will be attaching the legs together. Since you have 8 stitches on each one of the legs, by attaching them, you're going to need 16 bands. So at the end of round 1 here of the body, you're going to have 16 stitches. If you've done any of my dolls, they're the exact same way. I'll be starting in the center here as stitch 1. My stitch 2 will also be in the center, and then I'll be following the pattern all the way around. When you get to stitch 9, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9, you'll be grabbing the center band, which I will pause there just for you to catch up, we're hoping, and I'll go just a little bit slow on the 9th stitch. Then after that, the rest of the stitches will be clear. Your last band, the 16th, you're adding your stitch marker. So I'm going to start in the center. So what I'm going to do is put the legs together. You might prefer a right and a left leg. It's up to you. But you're going to put them together and fold them in half. Your slip knots may be in different spots than mine. So what I'm going to do is by folding them in half, I'm looking for 2 stitches in the center. So I'll be using these 2 and 1 and 2. Make sure you're grabbing on either side of your slip knots because those are stitches. So what I'm going to do is go through the legs, finding the stitch in the center and on the other side. So I have 4 little loops on my hook. I'm going to single crochet with my first band, and then I'm going to find those 2 center stitches on either side. So through one leg and then through the other, and single crochet. Now stitch around. The 9th band, I'm going to go a little bit slower. So you're going from the inside towards the out. Don't catch on to those slip knots that are sticking out there. We can hide those later. If you feel comfortable, you could actually just stop and just pull them through so they're not sticking out so much. So right now, this is what we have. And I'm going to be grabbing with my 9th stitch, this white chain here that we've used before. Now, on the other side, the white chain that we've used before, you're going to go through there. Now your stitches are visible, so keep going around. And my last one. You've used 16 bands, so you will have 16 stitches, and I will point them out to you in the next round. For round 2, we're going to increase to 22 stitches, and I'm using green. I'm going to show you where your 16 stitches are in a second around the body, but the pattern is going to be an increase followed by 2 single crochets. Increase followed by 2 single crochets. You're going to repeat that part 5 times, and your last stitch where your stitch marker is, you're doing an increase. So your first stitch is going to be that white little chain that you have right there. So not where it's getting pulled, the next one over. That is your first stitch. Your second stitch will be right at the back here. That's chain 2. So you'll see in the center here, 1 and 2, you're not using any of those. You're starting at the white, and your next chain is the green that's at the back. Now this first chain is your increase, so you want to do 2 single crochets in that white chain. Back in. Now at the back, that's chain 2, single crochet. Now the chains are very visible, so I want you to follow the layout. Chain 3, single crochet. And you're just going to repeat increase followed by 2 single crochets. Back in. And repeat 1, 1, 2. Oh, sorry, 2, 1, 1, 2, 1, 1. You're going to continue until you get to your stitch marker. I'm going to pull this white band through, just excuse me for 1 second. And I'm repeating the pattern again. I'm at the stitch marker now, so I'm going to do my increase. So right now you should have 22 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. I'll be switching to white color on the next round. For rounds 3, 4, and 5, you're just going to do 22 single crochets. So one band in each chain, 1, 1, 1, 1, 1, all the way around. Make sure when you change, you start a new row, don't start where it's getting pulled. Start in your first chain. I'm going to do part of round 3 with you, and then you're going to pause the video and come back to me when you're done. When you change color, do a slip stitch when you're changing the colors. So starting with round 3, each pile I have 22 bands, so at the end of each round you should have 22 stitches. So changing color, bring it through all the loops, and continue all the way until you get to your stitch marker. So right now, this is what you should have, and I'm on round 6. For round 6, we're going to do 22 single crochets, grabbing the outside loops only. So the little loop that's on the outside, that's the one that you're going to grab. I have 22 bands here, 10 and 10 is 20, plus 2 is 22. So you're going to go in your first outside loop only, not your slip knot, and single crochet on each chain around until you get to your stitch marker. Outside loops only. Make sure you're just grabbing the outside loop only. It will help to find the placement when we add on her skirt. So I think you can actually pause the video, continue, and come back to me when you're done. For round 7, we're going to decrease to 20 stitches, and I'm adding the beads. Right now I have 20 bands right here. I have 10, 8, and 2. 18 in total. I'm adding the beads, so I'm just going to do 18 single crochets and 2 decreases. These 2 bands, I'm going to be stitching my stitches together. So they are going to, I'm going to be stitching these 2 stitches together and then these 2 stitches together. I'm going to use Nancy's from Facebook, her technique, which I think is fantastic to get it to make it like a tighter look and a cleaner finish. So I'm going to be using Nancy's decrease method. So I will be referring it to Nancy's because I do so many different decreases. So I am going to be doing 18 single crochets first, and I'm adding the beads. I'm going to add the beads on chains 4, so 1, 2, 3, 4, then 7, so 5, 6, 7, then on chains 10, chains 13, chain 16, and then chain 19 where I'm doing the decrease. So you can pause the video and set up your layout like this, and then we can continue. So following the pattern, I'm going to do 18 single crochets. So I'm down to the last 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, and 4. So for Nancy's little trick, her trick is to grab the inside loop of the first chain and then the outside loop of the second chain. And then you can stitch those stitches together. I'll be using the bead. But to repeat, first chain is your inside loop, second chain is your outside loop, and stitch together. And again, inside loop, and then the outside loop. Really, really neat trick. And stitch together. So right now you should have 20 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. Now for round 8, we're going to do 20 single crochets. So I have 2 rows of 10, 10, and 10. I'm using 7 beads, and the beads are going to go on chains 1, 5, 8, 11, 14, 17, and 20. So you can set up your layout like that, and you can start 20 single crochets. It's very tricky. Don't start where your bands are getting pulled, because this one kind of looks like your first chain, but that's what we stitched together before. So start in your first one. I'm using the bead first, and then you can just single crochet until you get to your stitch marker. I've just done 10 single crochets. I'm starting with the next row. So again, you should have 20 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 9, I'm going to decrease this to 18 stitches. So my last 2 bands will be stitched together, and again I'll be using Nancy's decrease. So you want to basically do single crochet. You're going to do 16 single crochets, and your last 4 is where your decrease is. So I have 10 bands here, 6 bands, and then 2, which is your decrease. I'm adding 5 beads, and they're going to go on chains 2, 6, 9, 12, and 15. So I'm going to start with 16 single crochets. Don't go where it's getting pulled. This is our last row of the pink, or our last round with pink, and I'll be switching to white next. So I'm down to the last 4 chains, 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now we're going to do the decrease. So we're going to grab the inside loop and then the outside loop of the next chain and stitch together. Inside loop and then the outside loop and stitch together. So you should have 18 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. Round 10, we're switching to white, and I'm taking some bands away. So I am going to do 18 single crochets. I have 10, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, and then 8. 2, 4, 6, 8. 18 white bands, so we're going to do 18 single crochets. Going in your first chain, now where it's getting pulled, changing color to white, slip stitch. Now add 1 band to each chain until you get to your stitch marker. Again, you have 18 stitches. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 11, using white still, we're going to decrease to 15 stitches. So I'm going to do 3 single crochets and stitching my stitches together using Nancy's decrease. 3 single crochets followed by a decrease. 3 single crochets followed by a decrease, ending with 3 single crochets until you get to the stitch marker. So I'm going to do my 3 single crochets. Don't start in your slip knot. Now you want to stitch your stitches together. I'm going to grab the inside loop of the first one and then the outside loop of the second and stitch together. I'm going to repeat 3 single crochets followed by a decrease. Decrease, inside loop, outside loop of the next stitch. And repeat. Decrease, inside loop, outside loop of the next stitch. Three stitches left. You want to do 3 single crochets. Remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 12, I'm going to do 15 single crochets and I'm adding the flower. So I'll show you in 1 second. I have 5, 10, and 15. So 15 single crochets. Your flower, I've done her about 3 times already. It seems to be in the same spot each time, but just in case, keep your eye out for it because you want it in the center. So if you fold this in half, you want your flower to be at that band that's going sideways. So if right now I just take a single band, I'll use pink because it's right in front of me, and I do a little slip knot, that's where you want the actual rose. So if it doesn't end up in the same spot as mine, that may help you because then that will be an okay placement. So then on either side, you're adding your leaf. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add the leaf, which I'll get to in a second how to make, on my 5th chain. The rose is going to go on the 6th, and the other leaf is going to go on the 7th. For the leaf, all you're going to do is take a single band and wrap it around your hook 4 times. 1, 2, 3, and 4. And slide it onto a single band. Put in the center, and that's your leaf. You want to make 2. For the actual rose, you're going to take 2 red bands, and you're going to wrap it around your hook 1 at a time, 3 times. So you have 3 loops, and then again 3 times. So I have 6 red loops in total, and slide this onto a white band. This may be a little bit tricky, but you want to be careful it stays on the actual band. So that's what you want to do now. Then you're just going to single crochet around. I'm going to start in my first chain and be very careful so they don't fall off. You could add them on as you're crocheting so you don't have to do it before. See, mine is ending up in the exact same spot, so I really hope it's working out for you too as well. So where my pink band was my center, and that's where my rose is going. So I'm going to grab it very carefully and slide it through. Now continue. The leaf is on the other side. And now just go to your stitch marker. We're going to have 2 more rounds to do, and you're just using white and you're doing 15 single crochets for each of those rounds. So you can turn it around and look and make sure it's in the center. You have 15 stitches, remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 13 and 14, our last 2 rounds of the body, we're going to do 15 single crochets, so I have 15 bands here. Your last band, you're going to do a slip knot to tie it closed. Then we'll do the skirt and then we'll stuff. So I'm going to do round 13 with you a little bit, and then you're going to pause the video and continue and then come back to me when you're done. So going in your first chain and adding 1 band to each chain until you get to your stitch marker. Oops. So I think you can pause, continue, slip knot with the last band, and come back to me when you're done. For round 1 of the skirt, this is the layout. What we're going to do is we are going to find our stitches first, and maybe we should just do that before I explain. I'm going to use a stitch marker to find my starting point, and I'm at the back. What I'm going to be doing is grabbing, if you open it up, here's your white and here's your pink chain. I'm going to be grabbing the one that's facing the inside to each chain around. So again, white, pink, just grabbing the one that's hidden underneath. That's the one that I'm going to be pulling out, so you can kind of see each one. You have 22 of those stitches. Pick one at the center back, and I'm going to attach a stitch marker. So you have 22 of those that you're going to do stitches. On your first one, you're going to be doing a half double crochet. I'm going to be using Just Davey's technique to create that, and I've done this before with the Smurfette doll. So I'm going to be doing a half double crochet in the first one, and then 2 half double crochets in the next. So each pile I have 2, and then 4, 2, and then 4, 2, and then 4. I have 6 rows here and 5 rows. So you're repeating this 11 times. I have 6 beads here, and they are going on every other half double crochet, so every other section. Now, it is very easy to skip a stitch on this round. If you do, don't worry, just keep on going. But if you open it up and you look with your finger, kind of give it a stretch, you will find your stitches. So this is your pink. You're going to be going down here to grab this one that's underneath. So if you can't see, just put your hook in and you're grabbing the bottom one only, if you can't find your next stitch. Now I'm going to start with a half double crochet, so I'm going to go through my chain here, just the inside one, and I'm going to take my first band, which happens to be with the bead, and I'm going to bring it through and on my hook. Your second band is just going to go through the first little loop on your hook and put the other end on your hook, and then you'll slide. First stitch is always a little bit different because you don't have so many bands to begin with. So I'm going to go to my next one. If I can't see it, I'm going to put my hook through the chain and just find my first one. This stitch, you're going to do 2 half double crochets. So I'm going to grab my first band, bring it through and on my hook. The second band is going to go underneath the first loop that was on your hook. And on your hook, you'll have 4 loops from now on, and slide. Go back in that same chain to do an increase. Bring your band through, end on your hook. Second band goes underneath the first little loop. 4 loops and then slide. Now for the next row, we're going to repeat. So we're going to find our next chain. Give this a tug so you know where you were. Half double crochet. Four loops and slide. Now 2 half double crochets in the next chain. So I'm going to find my stitch, which is just this one. 2 half double crochets. Back in. The next one. You're repeating the pattern. Next stitch. 2 half double crochets in this one stitch. Back in to grab that little band, the single one, and do another half double crochet. When you're done this round, if I didn't point out already, you will have 33 stitches. I'm going to do 2 half double crochets in the same stitch. Now 2 half double crochets. Four loops and then slide, going back in. And you're going to repeat. You can see what it's starting to look like. Now, what you're going to do is you can pause the video. Let me just fix this up. Pause the video. I'll come back for the last 2 stitches. So I'm down to the last 2 sections. So I'm just going to continue. So right now you should have 33 stitches, and this is what it should look like. You can remove your stitch marker and add it to the band that's around your hook. For round 2 of the skirt, we are going to do 33 half double crochets. So you're going to do a half double crochet in each one of your chains. If you open them up you'll see that you have 33 stitches right now. So in each one of those stitches, you're doing a half double crochet. So I have 33 sections here, 10, 20, 30, and 3. We are going to then tie it off at the end in your next stitch over with a single band to do a slip knot. The beads, I have 6 of them here. Your first one is going to go on your third half double crochet, so 1, 2, 3. Then the rest are going to go on every 6th. So you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and so on. Each pile I have 2 bands, so we can do a half double crochet. I'm going to do a couple with you, and then you're going to pause the video, and I'll come back for the last 2. So if you open it up, you're going to see your first one is where your bead is. If you open that up, you're going to notice that this first chain is pulling where your bead is. That's where you're going to go. That's chain 1. So you're going to bring a band through on your hook, second band underneath the first loop, and slide. Open it up and go to your next chain. Repeat half double crochet. Second band is underneath the first loop only on your hook, and you have 4 loops you want to slide. Open it up, find your next chain. You're starting with the bead, bringing it through. Next, through the first loop only. When you have 4 loops, then you'll slide. So I think you can continue following the pattern, and I'll come back for the last 2 stitches. So I'm at my last chain where my stitch marker is, so I'm going to do my last half double crochet, and then I'm going to tie it off in the next chain over with a single band. So just to finish, after this we're going to grab some stuffing and we're going to fill it. So I'm just going to tie this off by going to the next chain over and doing a slip knot. I'm going to remove my stitch marker. I'm going to hide the slip knot. So I'm going to go through my chain and, through the bottom from the feet up. I'm going to go through the chain and just bring my slip knot to the back. And I'm just going to hide it by going through the little stitches that you have in the back here. Maybe once or twice. I'm going to try for 2. It might not stay. And now you're just going to find your beads and you want to bring them to the center. So some of them might be in the back. So you're just going to bring them to the front here. You're going to bring it through the front, follow your band, and give your band a little tug and bring the bead to the front. Finding another one. Finding that band and just sliding it. You could do that to the top row as well. Now you want to get some stuffing, and you want to fill. First part that you're going to fill the area of the legs right down here. So take a little bit and push with your finger just to fill that area. Put some more in, and I'm just going to fill that area. Now to add on the arms, I'm going to do that now. So I'm just going to put it at the side of her body. And for each arm, I'm going to use an extra band to tie it off. So I'm putting the arm to the side and I'm finding the flatter part of it and I'm facing that towards the body. Now these 3 sewing bands you're going to pull through in not the top loop, but the second bottom loop. So you want to grab it where the sewing bands are. So you can see I'm in between the top and the second loop. And I'm going to bring my band through. I'm going to go through the second one. So it's the second one below the top. Bring it through and slide. And in between the top and the second loop, grab in the other one and slide. And you can see the placement. Now what I'm going to do is remove that loop from the top here and I'm going to bring it through the arm. So I'm coming out through the arm right at the top and I'm just going to bring it through. Now I'm just going to hook on to the stitch. You can grab one of the little stitches here. You can even go a little bit below or right where you ended with the arm, like on the actual arm, and you can do a slip knot. And that just happens to be a jelly band. And for the other side, the same thing. You're going to find the flatter side and put that against the body. Now you want to make sure that these 2 sections are even. So you want to have the right placement. And again, through the center of the top and the second stitch. And slide. I'm going to release, go underneath the arm, bring it through, and I'm just going to hook onto one of the single stitches right below. And check out the placement, and you could fix up the little puffs. You can see one of my bands is a little bit twisted, so I'm just going to find the cap band and then move it around. These little bands you can hide in the body or of the arm, wherever you feel more comfortable, and you can do that with the other arm.